It was one of those busy Tuesday mornings when everything seemed to go wrong at once. The campus was buzzing with students rushing to their classes, and the autumn leaves were scattered everywhere, making the walkways slippery and unpredictable. Maya had always been the type of person who preferred her own space. Ever since she was little, she found it hard to be around too many people or deal with unexpected touching. Even simple things like handshakes or hugs from relatives made her feel uncomfortable. She wasn't rude about it, she just needed more personal space than most people. That morning, Maya was already running late for her psychology class. She had spent extra time organizing her notes and making sure everything was perfect in her backpack. Being organized was her way of feeling in control, especially in social situations that made her nervous. As she walked across the main courtyard, balancing 3 heavy textbooks, her notebook, and a coffee cup, Maya tried to avoid the crowded areas. She took the longer route around the fountain, hoping to stay away from the groups of students who were laughing and talking loudly near the student center. Meanwhile, on the other side of the courtyard, Alex was having a completely different kind of morning. He was a physical therapy student who loved being around people. Alex was the kind of person who gave high fives, helped strangers carry heavy things, and never hesitated to lend a hand when someone needed it. His friends often joked that he was like a golden retriever in human form, always friendly, always ready to help. Alex had just finished his morning workout at the campus gym and was feeling energetic. He was walking toward the library when he noticed a girl struggling with her books. She looked like she was about to drop everything, and his natural instinct was to help. Maya was almost at the psychology building when disaster struck. A gust of wind caught her loose papers, and as she tried to grab them, her coffee cup tilted. In that split second of panic, she lost her grip on everything. Books scattered across the concrete, papers flew in different directions, and her coffee splashed everywhere. She felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment as other students walked by, some glancing at the mess she had made. Maya quickly got down on her hands and knees, trying to gather everything as fast as possible. All she wanted was to clean up the mess and disappear before anyone noticed her. Alex saw the whole thing happen and immediately jogged over to help, without thinking twice. He dropped his own backpack and started collecting the scattered papers. He was focused on being helpful, trying to catch the papers before they blew away further. "Don't worry, I got this," Alex said cheerfully, reaching for a textbook that had landed near Maya's feet. Maya looked up, surprised to see someone helping her. She wasn't used to strangers offering assistance, and it made her feel even more self-conscious. She mumbled a quick thank you and kept gathering her things, hoping he would just leave the books and go. But Alex was determined to help properly. He reached for the same psychology textbook that Maya was grabbing, and in that moment, everything went wrong. Their hands touched as they both grabbed the book, and the surprise contact caused Maya to pull back quickly. Alex, who was leaning forward, lost his balance. It happened so fast that neither of them could react in time. Alex stumbled forward, and Maya, who was crouched down, couldn't move out of the way quickly enough. He ended up falling right across her legs, creating an incredibly awkward situation that neither of them had expected. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Maya's heart started racing, not from the fall, but from the sudden, unexpected contact. This was exactly the kind of situation she always tried to avoid, being too close to someone, especially a stranger. Her mind went blank as she processed what had just happened. Alex immediately realized how uncomfortable the situation was. He could see the panic in Maya's eyes and quickly scrambled to get up, his face turning red with embarrassment. "Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry," Alex said, jumping up and brushing off his clothes. "I didn't mean to. I was just trying to help with your books." Maya sat there for a moment, still processing what had happened. She wasn't hurt physically, but emotionally. She felt overwhelmed. This was her worst nightmare, an unexpected physical encounter with a complete stranger in front of other students. It's okay," Maya managed to say, though her voice was shaky. She quickly gathered the remaining books, not making eye contact with Alex or anyone else who might have witnessed the incident. Alex stood there, feeling terrible about what had happened. He could tell that the girl was upset, and he desperately wanted to make things right. But he also sensed that she wanted to be left alone, which put him in a difficult position. "Are you sure you're okay?" he asked gently, keeping his distance this time. "I feel really bad about this." Maya nodded quickly, clutching her books to her chest. "I'm fine. Thank you for helping," she said, though she clearly wasn't fine. Without waiting for a response, she hurried away toward the psychology building, leaving Alex standing there with his own backpack and a feeling of regret. As Maya walked away, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that he had somehow made her day worse instead of better. He had only wanted to help, but instead, he had created an awkward situation that clearly made her uncomfortable. This unexpected encounter would stay with both of them for the rest of the day, though for very different reasons. Maya would replay the moment over and over, feeling embarrassed and wishing she could have handled it better. Alex would spend his day wondering if there was something he could have done differently, and hoping he would get a chance to apologize properly. Neither of them knew that this awkward moment would eventually lead to something much more meaningful than either could have imagined. The psychology class that Maya had been rushing to suddenly felt like the longest hour of her life. She sat in the back row, trying to focus on the professor's lecture about social interactions and personal boundaries. The irony wasn't lost on her. Here she was, learning about the very thing she had just experienced in the most uncomfortable way possible. Every few minutes, her mind would drift back to what had happened in the courtyard. She could still feel the weight of that stranger's body across her legs, and it made her shift uncomfortably in her seat. Maya had always been good at pushing uncomfortable thoughts away, but this time, it wasn't working. She kept replaying the moment over and over. The way he had fallen on her, the panic she had felt, the embarrassment of other students walking by and seeing the whole thing. What made it worse was that she knew he was just trying to help. She wasn't angry at him. She was frustrated with herself for not being able to handle the situation better. When the class finally ended, Maya packed her things slowly, waiting for most of the other students to leave. She didn't want to rush out and risk running into anyone who might have seen what happened earlier. As she walked across campus to her next class, she took a completely different route, avoiding the courtyard altogether. Meanwhile, Alex couldn't concentrate on anything. He had a chemistry lab that afternoon, but his mind kept wandering back to the girl with the books. He had replayed the scene dozens of times, trying to figure out what he could have done differently. The more he thought about it, the more he realized how badly he had handled the situation. During his lab break, Alex found himself walking past the courtyard where it had all happened. He looked at the spot where her books had scattered, where he had fallen on her, and felt a knot in his stomach. He had always prided himself on being helpful and making people feel comfortable. But today he had done the exact opposite. His lab partner, Kevin, noticed that Alex seemed distracted. "Dude, you've been staring at that beaker for 10 minutes. What's going on?" Alex sighed and told Kevin about what had happened. As he explained the story, he realized how much worse it sounded when he said it out loud. "I just feel terrible about it," Alex said. "She looked so uncomfortable, and I made everything worse by falling on her." Kevin raised an eyebrow. "Wait, you fell on her? How does that even happen?" "We both reached for the same book at the same time, and I lost my balance," Alex explained. "It was completely accidental, but I could tell she was really upset about it. She just grabbed her stuff and ran away." "Maybe she was just embarrassed," Kevin suggested. "I mean, dropping your books in front of everyone is pretty embarrassing even without someone falling on you." But Alex shook his head. "No, it was more than that. She looked scared, almost. Like being that close to someone was really hard for her." The conversation stuck with Alex for the rest of the day. He began to understand that what had happened wasn't just about embarrassment. It was about something deeper. Some people just didn't like physical contact, and he had accidentally forced it on someone who clearly wasn't comfortable with it. That evening, Maya sat in her dorm room, trying to study for an upcoming exam. Her roommate, Lisa, was at her desk, working on an art project. Lisa was one of the few people Maya felt comfortable around, mainly because Lisa understood her need for personal space without making a big deal about it. "You seem really distracted tonight," Lisa observed, looking up from her painting. "Everything okay?" Maya hesitated. She didn't usually talk about things that made her uncomfortable, but the day's events were still bothering her. "Something weird happened today," she said finally. She told Lisa about the incident with the books and the stranger who had tried to help. As she talked, Maya realized that what bothered her most wasn't the physical contact itself. It was how helpless she had felt in that moment. "It sounds like he was genuinely trying to help," Lisa said gently. "But I get why it would be uncomfortable for you." "I know he was trying to help," Maya replied. "That's what makes it worse. I couldn't even say thank you properly. I just panicked and ran away like a scared kid." Lisa put down her paintbrush and turned to face Maya. "You know, not everyone understands that some people need more personal space. Most people assume everyone is comfortable with casual touching and physical contact." "But what if I see him again?" Maya asked. "I feel like I was rude to him, but I also don't want to put myself in another situation where I feel that uncomfortable." "Maybe you could just explain if you see him again," Lisa suggested. "Not everyone knows about personal boundaries, but most people are understanding once they learn." Maya wasn't sure about that. In her experience, when she told people about her discomfort with physical contact, they either didn't believe her or they treated her like she was broken somehow. She had learned to just avoid situations where it might become an issue. The next morning, both Maya and Alex found themselves thinking about each other as they got ready for their classes. Maya had decided to take her usual route across campus, telling herself that she couldn't avoid the courtyard forever. Alex had made a decision to, if he saw the girl again, he would apologize properly and make sure she knew that he respected her boundaries. As fate would have it, they both ended up in the same area around lunchtime. Maya was sitting on a bench near the library, eating a sandwich and reading a book. Alex was walking back from the bookstore when he spotted her. His first instinct was to approach her, but then he stopped. He remembered how she had looked when she ran away yesterday, uncomfortable and overwhelmed. Maybe the best thing he could do was leave her alone. But as Alex stood there, debating what to do, Maya looked up and saw him. For a moment, their eyes met across the courtyard. Maya's heart started beating faster, and she felt that familiar urge to pack up her things and leave. But something made her stay. Alex took a deep breath and walked over to where she was sitting, but he stopped about 6 feet away, far enough to give her space, but close enough to talk normally. "Hi," he said simply. "I'm Alex. I don't think we were properly introduced yesterday." Maya looked at him, surprised by his respectful distance and calm demeanor. "I'm Maya," she said quietly. "Maya," Alex repeated, as if testing how it sounded. "I wanted to apologize for yesterday. I realize I made you uncomfortable, and I'm really sorry about that." Maya studied his face, looking for any sign that he was just being polite. But Alex seemed genuinely concerned about how she felt. "We're trying to help," she said. "I know it was an accident." "Still," Alex said, "I should have been more careful. I hope you're okay." For the first time since the incident, Maya felt like maybe she could handle the situation better than she had yesterday. "I'm okay," she said. I'm not really comfortable with physical contact." "It's not your fault," Alex nodded, and Maya was surprised to see understanding in his eyes rather than confusion or judgment. "That makes sense," he said. "I'm sorry I didn't realize that before." They stood there for a moment, both unsure of what to say next. But for the first time, the silence didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt like the beginning of something that might actually turn out okay. The conversation between Maya and Alex near the library lasted only a few minutes, but it stayed with both of them for the rest of the week. For Maya, it was the first time someone had actually listened when she mentioned her discomfort with physical contact without making her feel weird about it. For Alex, it was a wake-up call about how different people experience the world. Over the next few days, Alex found himself paying more attention to how people interacted around campus. He noticed how some students naturally kept more distance from others, how some people seemed to tense up when someone got too close, and how he himself had a habit of using casual touch. When talking to people, a pat on the shoulder, a high five, or even just standing closer than necessary. Maya, on the other hand, kept thinking about how Alex had approached her. He had stayed far enough away that she didn't feel trapped or overwhelmed, and he had spoken to her like a normal person instead of treating her like she was fragile. It was such a simple thing, but it meant a lot to her. Thursday afternoon, Maya was in the library working on a research paper when she noticed someone sitting at a nearby table. It was Alex, and he had several thick textbooks spread out in front of him. She watched him for a moment, noticing how he seemed to be genuinely focused on his studies. He wasn't the type of person she usually paid attention to, too outgoing, too comfortable with other people, but something about their recent interaction had made her curious about him. Alex looked up from his books and caught her looking at him. Instead of the awkward eye contact that usually made Maya want to disappear, he gave her a small smile and a little wave. Maya found herself smiling back before she could stop herself. After a few minutes, Alex packed up his books and walked over to Maya's table. This time, he pulled out the chair across from her and gestured to it. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. "I promised to stay on my side of the table." Maya was surprised by his small joke, and even more surprised when she found herself nodding. "Sure," she said quietly. Alex sat down and put his books on the table. "I've been thinking about what you said the other day," he began, "about not being comfortable with physical contact. I hope you don't mind me asking, but has it always been like that for you?" Most people who asked Maya about her boundaries either seemed judgmental or overly curious, like she was some kind of puzzle to solve. But Alex asked the question in a way that felt genuine, like he actually wanted to understand. "Pretty much," Maya said, surprised by her own willingness to talk about it. "When I was little, my family used to think I was just being difficult. They kept trying to make me hug relatives or hold hands with other kids, thinking I would get used to it, but it never got easier." Alex nodded thoughtfully. "That sounds really hard. I can't imagine having to deal with that kind of pressure. Most people don't understand," Maya continued. "They think I'm being rude or that I don't like them. But it's not about other people. It's just how I'm wired, I guess." "You know," Alex said, "I study physical therapy, and we learn about different types of sensory processing. Some people are more sensitive to touch than others. It's not weird or wrong. It's just different." Maya looked at him with genuine surprise. "Really? You learned about that in school?" "Yeah," Alex said. "There are people who are hypersensitive to touch, and others who need more physical input to feel comfortable. It's all part of how our nervous systems work. I should have thought about that before I tried to help you with your books." For the first time in her life, Maya felt like someone was explaining her experience back to her in a way that made sense. It wasn't just her being difficult or antisocial. It was actually a real thing that had a name and an explanation. "I wish more people understood that," Maya said softly. "Maybe they would have someone explained it to them." Alex suggested, "I mean, I didn't really get it until I started studying it." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment before Alex spoke again. "I have to ask, does it bother you when people are sitting near you like this?" "I don't want to make you uncomfortable." Maya thought about it. "It's different when I can see someone and when I have space to move if I need to," she said. "It's the unexpected touching that's really hard for me." "That makes sense," Alex said. "So if someone wanted to be friends with you, they would just need to be more careful about personal space?" Maya felt her cheeks warm slightly. "Are you asking if we could be friends?" Alex grinned. "I guess I am. I know we got off to a weird start, but I think you're pretty cool. And I promise I'll stay on my side of any table or room we're in." Maya found herself smiling again. "I'd like that," she said, and she meant it. Over the next hour, they talked about their classes, their interests, and their completely different approaches to social situations. Alex told her about his physical therapy program, and how he was learning to help people feel more comfortable in their bodies. Maya shared her love of psychology and her interest in understanding how people think and feel. You know what's funny? Alex said as they were packing up their books. I've always been the kind of person who thinks physical contact makes people feel better. A hug when someone's sad, a high five when they're happy. But talking to you made me realize that I might have been making some people uncomfortable without even knowing it. And I've always thought that people who are comfortable with touching were just better at being human than I am, Maya admitted. But maybe we're both just different ways of being normal. As they walked out of the library together, maintaining a comfortable distance between them, Maya felt something she hadn't experienced in a long time, the possibility of a real friendship with someone who understood her boundaries. Same time tomorrow, Alex asked as they reached the point where they would go in different directions. Yeah, Maya said, I'll be here, as they went their separate ways. Both Maya and Alex felt like they had discovered something important, not just about each other, but about how different people could connect in ways that worked for everyone involved. It was the beginning of a friendship that would challenge both of them to grow in ways they never expected. Their daily library meetings became a routine that both Maya and Alex looked forward to. What started as a simple conversation had grown into something neither of them had expected. A genuine friendship that was built on understanding rather than trying to change each other. Maya had never had a friend who was so naturally social, and Alex had never spent time with someone who needed as much personal space as Maya did. But instead of these differences creating problems, they seemed to make their friendship more interesting. Alex began to notice things about social interactions that he had never paid attention to before. When they walked across campus together, he saw how Maya would subtly move away from crowded areas, how she would tense up when someone walked too close behind her, and how she seemed to relax when they found quieter spaces to talk. One afternoon, while they were studying together in their usual spot, a group of Alex's friends from his physical therapy program stopped by their table. Maya immediately became quiet and seemed to shrink into herself as the four guys crowded around, talking loudly and laughing. Hey Alex, we're heading to the gym, one of them said, casually putting his hand on Alex's shoulder. Want to come work out with us? Alex glanced at Maya, who was looking down at her textbook and seemed uncomfortable with all the noise and energy around their table. Not today, Alex said. I'm helping Maya with her psychology homework. Come on, man, another friend said, reaching over to playfully mess with Alex's hair. You spend every afternoon in the library now. Don't you miss having fun? Maya felt her stomach tighten. She knew that Alex's friends probably thought she was boring, and she worried that Alex might start to feel the same way. She began gathering her books, planning to leave so Alex could go with his friends. But Alex noticed what Maya was doing. Actually, guys, I like studying here, he said firmly, and I'm not really in the mood for the gym today. His friends looked confused but eventually shrugged and left. Maya looked up at Alex, surprised that he had chosen to stay with her instead of going with his friends. You didn't have to do that, Maya said quietly. I know you like working out with them. Alex smiled. I also like talking to you. Besides, I can go to the gym anytime. But our conversations are more interesting than lifting weights. Maya felt something warm in her chest, a feeling she wasn't used to. Someone had actually chosen to spend time with her over doing something more fun. It was a small thing, but it meant everything to her. As the weeks passed, Alex became incredibly good at reading Maya's comfort levels. He learned that she was more relaxed when they sat in corners of the library where she could see everyone coming and going. He discovered that she preferred walking on the less crowded paths around campus, even if it took longer to get places. Maya, in turn, began to understand Alex's naturally helpful personality. She watched him interact with other students, always ready to lend a hand or offer encouragement. She realized that his attempt to help her with her books that first day wasn't unusual. It was just who he was. One rainy Thursday, Maya arrived at the library to find Alex already there, but he looked upset about something. She sat down across from him and noticed that he seemed more tense than usual. "Everything okay?" Maya asked, which was unusual for her. She typically waited for others to bring up problems rather than asking directly. Alex looked up, surprised by her question. "I had a weird experience in my clinical practice today," he said. "I was working with a patient who has chronic pain, and I accidentally touched her arm without warning her first. She jumped away from me, and I could tell I had made her really uncomfortable." Maya listened carefully as Alex explained what had happened. The patient had explained that unexpected touch made her pain worse, and Alex had felt terrible about not thinking before he acted. "I keep thinking about what you taught me about boundaries," Alex continued. "I realize that I probably make people uncomfortable all the time without even knowing it." Maya felt a strange sense of pride. Alex was learning something important, and she had been part of that learning process. "It's not your fault that you didn't know," she said. "Most people don't think about it because it's not something they deal with. But now I do know," Alex said, "and I want to be better at it." Maya smiled at him. "You're already better at it. Look how you are with me now compared to that first day." Alex thought about it. "You're right. I guess I learned how to be a better friend by being friends with you." Over the following weeks, Maya began to feel more confident in their friendship. Alex had proven over and over that he respected her boundaries, and she started to trust that he wouldn't suddenly change and become pushy or invasive. One afternoon, while they were walking back from the library, Maya did something that surprised both of them. When Alex made a joke that made her laugh really hard, she reached out and briefly touched his arm. It was just for a second, but it was the first time Maya had initiated any kind of physical contact with him. Alex noticed immediately but didn't make a big deal about it. He just smiled and continued the conversation as if nothing unusual had happened. But inside, he felt honored that Maya had felt comfortable enough to make that small gesture. Maya realized what she had done a few seconds later and felt a moment of panic. But when she looked at Alex's face, she saw only warmth and understanding. He wasn't going to make her feel weird about it or assume that it meant she was suddenly okay with all physical contact. "I can't believe I just did that," Maya said, laughing. Nervously, "It was nice," Alex said simply, "but no pressure to do it again unless you want to." Maya felt that warm feeling in her chest again. Alex had somehow figured out how to make her feel accepted exactly as she was, while also letting her know that it was safe to step outside her comfort zone when she was ready. Their friendship had become something neither of them had expected when they first met. Alex had learned that being a good friend sometimes meant holding back rather than reaching out, and Maya had discovered that the right person could make her feel safe enough to reach out when she wanted to. As they walked across campus together, maintaining their comfortable distance, both of them felt grateful for the unexpected lesson they had learned about friendship, boundaries, and what it really means to understand another person. 3 months had passed since that awkward morning in the courtyard, and Maya could hardly believe how much her life had changed. She was sitting in the same spot where she and Alex had first had a real conversation, but now she felt completely different about the library, about the campus, and most importantly, about herself. Alex had become more than just a friend. He had become someone she could truly be herself around. And in the process of being herself, Maya had discovered parts of her personality that she had kept hidden for years. Their friendship had developed its own rhythm. They still met in the library most afternoons, but now they also grabbed coffee together, studied in different locations around campus, and even hung out in Alex's dorm room sometimes. Maya had never felt comfortable in other people's spaces before, but Alex had made sure his room felt welcoming without being overwhelming. One afternoon, while they were working on their respective assignments, Alex looked up from his textbook and watched Maya as she concentrated on her laptop. Her hair was falling in front of her face, and without thinking, she reached up and tucked it behind her ear. It was such a simple gesture, but Alex found himself smiling at how relaxed and natural she looked. "What are you smiling about?" Maya asked, noticing his expression. "Just thinking about how different you seem now compared to when we first met." Alex said honestly. Maya considered this. Different how? More confident, I guess. More comfortable with yourself. That first day, you seemed like you were trying to disappear. Now you seem like you're actually here, if that makes sense. Maya saved her work and closed her laptop. I feel more here, she said. I think it's because I'm not spending all my energy worrying about whether someone is going to accidentally touch me or get too close. Alex nodded. Because you know I won't do that unless you're okay with it. Exactly, Maya said. It's like I can relax and just be a normal person instead of someone who's constantly on guard. What Maya didn't mention was that her comfort level had been gradually expanding. Over the past few weeks, she had started to initiate small moments of contact with Alex, a brief touch on his shoulder when she was laughing, a high five when he got a good grade on a test, or even just sitting a little closer to him when they were looking at something together. Alex had noticed these changes, but had been careful not to point them out or make assumptions about what they meant. He had learned that Maya's comfort zone was something that expanded naturally when she felt safe, but it could shrink quickly if she felt pressured or observed. One evening, Maya was having a particularly difficult day. She had gotten into an argument with her roommate Lisa about something trivial, and then she had struggled through a presentation in her psychology class. By the time she met Alex at the library, she looked exhausted and frustrated. Rough day? Alex asked, immediately noticing her mood. Maya sighed and slumped in her chair. The worst. I feel like I took 10 steps backward in terms of being able to handle normal social situations. Alex listened as Maya explained what had happened with Lisa and how awkward she had felt during her presentation. As she talked, he could see how upset she was about feeling like she had failed somehow. You know what I think, Alex said when she finished. I think you're being way too hard on yourself. 3 months ago, you wouldn't have even signed up for a class that required presentations, and you definitely wouldn't have been able to tell me about having a bad day. Maya looked at him, surprised. I guess you're right about that. Plus, Alex continued, you and Lisa have been roommates for 2 years, and you've never had a real argument before. That's not because you're bad at conflict. It's because you're both good at communicating. 1 argument doesn't erase 2 years of friendship. Maya felt some of the tension in her shoulders relax. Alex had a way of putting things in perspective that helped her see situations more clearly. Thanks, she said quietly. I needed to hear that. Without thinking about it, Maya reached across the table and briefly squeezed Alex's hand. It was the most significant physical contact she had ever initiated, and it surprised both of them. But this time, instead of feeling panicked about what she had done, Maya felt proud of herself. She had reached out to someone in a moment when she needed comfort, and it had felt natural and right. Alex squeezed her hand back gently before letting go. Anytime, he said. As the semester continued, Maya found herself becoming more confident in other areas of her life too. She joined a study group for one of her psychology classes, something she never would have done before. She started participating more in class discussions, and she even signed up to volunteer at a local community center. Alex watched these changes with amazement and pride. He had always believed that Maya was capable of more than she thought she was, but seeing her discover that for herself was incredible. One day, while they were walking across campus, Maya spotted a girl sitting alone on a bench, looking upset. Without hesitation, Maya walked over to her. Are you okay? Maya asked gently, sitting down on the bench but leaving plenty of space between them. The girl looked up, surprised. I'm fine, she said, but her eyes were red from crying. I'm Maya. Maya said, I don't know if this helps, but sometimes when I'm having a bad day, it helps to talk to someone who doesn't know the whole situation. Alex stood nearby, watching in amazement as Maya talked to the upset girl. Maya was naturally giving this stranger the same kind of respectful space and gentle attention that Alex had learned to give her. After a few minutes, the girl started talking about her problems, and Maya listened with genuine concern. Eventually, the girl thanked Maya and said she felt better. As they walked away, Alex shook his head in wonder. Do you realize what just happened? Alex asked. "What do you mean?" Maya said. "You just did for someone else what I did for you that day at the library. You approached someone who was upset, gave them space, and listened to them without judgment." Maya thought about it and realized he was right. "I guess I learned something about how to help people. Feel comfortable. You learn how to be a really good friend," Alex said. "And not just to me, to anyone who needs someone to understand them." As they continued walking, Maya felt a sense of accomplishment that she had never experienced before. She had started the semester feeling like she was bad at being around people. But now she was discovering that she actually had a gift for understanding others and making them feel heard. The awkward incident that had brought them together had led to something neither of them could have predicted. Maya had learned that her sensitivity to boundaries wasn't a weakness. It was actually a strength that helped her connect with people in meaningful ways. And Alex had learned that being a good friend sometimes meant slowing down and paying attention to what others needed rather than just offering what felt natural to him. Their friendship had taught them both that the best relationships aren't about changing yourself to fit with someone else. They're about finding someone who helps you become the best version of yourself. As they reached the library for their usual afternoon study session, Maya realized that she was no longer the same person who had dropped her books in the courtyard 3 months ago. She was still someone who needed personal space and felt uncomfortable with unexpected physical contact. But now she also knew that those things didn't have to stop her from having meaningful friends, hips, and connections with others. The most important thing she had learned was that the right people would understand and respect her boundaries, while still wanting to be part of her life, and that knowledge had changed everything.